We are tonight's entertainment.
You can't handle the truth.
The fire rises.
Pizza time.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So it begins.
You know how much I sacrifice?
You think that's air you're breathing?
Groovy.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We are Sex People! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Craft Services.
So, Trent. So, Parth. Nice to see you. You're looking well.
You're looking well also.
Wow, thank you.
Today is a notable occasion. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Look at me.
Oh,
It's something we've been talking
I
about
see.
for a long, long time.
Well, because you see, folks, Trent and I have been talking for probably like half an hour now, so I was already desensitized to this. But
when we got into the call, you were shocked.
I was
Mesmerized, Stephen. You were rendered speechless. Como se dice?
Everyone, Trent is shirtless.
Yeah, well, we've been talking for a while about doing the shirtless pod, where like everyone, like in an interview, in a discussion, everyone, boy, girl, whomever, is shirtless, and we call it the shirtless pod. And I always thought that would be a fun idea. Parth is less excited, but I was shirtless, and we were just doing like a little 5-10 minute recording, and I thought, why needlessly put on the shirt? Because I wanted to entice Parth, but he gave me a little tease, but he didn't want to be shirtless for the full duration of the show.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'll try in the future to be better.
He's also stated his opposition to getting our interviewees to take their shirts off.
You know I'm in the minority, but I think that might be unprofessional.
It's not a visual medium. Like, the listeners wouldn't know, but it would just like be for us.
Trent, what have you been eating?
Haven't eaten since breakfast, but breakfast was bread that friend off the show, Tamara, housemate, made, and
Wow. She's such a little chef.
the backstory of the bread is that someone in her life died, and she recently went to the wake, and she baked 2 loaves of bread in hopes of giving one of them, the more appealing one, to the mourning family, and both of them didn't rise, and so they were like bread frisbees, and so she said that I could eat some, so I had it for breakfast alongside some eggs and a smoothie.
I mean, I'm sorry that person died, but I'm happy you got some food out of it.
It was in a bicycle accident.
Oh, how unfortunate. It's a good thing she doesn't listen to the podcast, because then she doesn't have to hear me laughing about this person that she knew dying from a bicycle accident.
Not a motorcycle, like a bike with wheels.
Wow.
What about you? What have you been eating?
I had tofu with rice for dinner. It was like a whole little thing, and a salad. It was delicious. I had a good time eating it.
Good for you. Well, do you know at like football games where they like flip a coin at the beginning of the game? We have to do something similar to that.
Should we do this now, or should we?
No, let's leave them in suspense. Let's leave them in suspense. Let's do the intro music, and then we'll
that's
discuss
what I'm thinking.
on the other side. Parth, I'll see you on the other side, buddy.
All right. I'm gonna miss you.
But through the magic of editing, it'll just be a split second.
Cue the intro. Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about the movies. Each week we talk about a film and hopefully have a crew member of that film to talk with us about their experience working on the picture. And today, Trent, we have an episode. As of the listeners clicking on this episode, they know what we're about to listen to, right? Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? And correct me again, but we do not know what they're about to listen to. Am I wrong?
No, our fate is about to be determined by President George Washington.
So for the listeners, we have right now 2 interviews stashed, ready to go out.
In our back
One.
pocket.
But we don't know which one we want to do. And we needed to record an intro for one of them. And
And we thought, why not record an intro for both of them? And neither of
exactly
them simultaneously.
at the same time. And so we thought, hey, wouldn't it be a fun little thing if we flipped a coin on air, and based on the basis of that coin flip, we would then know what interview
Episode
we're recording
we
an
were
intro
thus
for.
Doing, yeah.
So Trent, do you want to lay out our 2 options?
So option number 1 would be interview with. So option number 1, which we'll assign to the head side of the coin, would be interview with the Matrix Resurrections editor, Joseph Jett Sally. That interview was pretty dope. I liked it.
And recorded the day after the film premiered. But
Yeah.
we have yet to release it until like 4 months afterwards.
He also worked on Speed Racer.
He has an action figure made of him?
Yes, because he was in Star Wars. Because he was an editor on
Assistant editor
on Star Wars, and so he got to be an extra in the big battle sequence in Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones.
Geonosis?
Yeah, the one with all the monsters, where Jango Fett gets decapitated. Parth, do you think when young Boba Fett picks up the head, like the helmet, that like the decapitated
The head is
should
still in the helmet. The head is still in the helmet.
Shouldn't it plop out?
That would have happened, except George Lucas cut right at the moment it was starting to slip out.
Frankly, this is the option I'm hoping for, because it would lead to a discussion the following week of The Matrix Resurrections, which is a movie I have not yet viewed in completion, but I have
Formulated some very strong opinions about it.
based on seeing it, the first half of it in the movie theater, and then being in such physical pain that I left to go to go watch Licorice Pizza again, which is an opinion, according to Parth. But what's option 2? What's the tail side of the coin?
The tail side of the coin is an interview we did with my former professor, Mollye Asher. She was the producer for Nomadland and is, as such, is an Oscar winner. And she talked with us about producing, has some cool stories about that, what she looks for in projects, and, talks about what it was like winning the Oscar, which happened not so long ago.
So the producer, gets their own Oscar trophy. She probably has a physical Oscar.
She does. She showed us in class. She actually, 2 days after the Oscars, it was our last day of class, and she showed it to everyone and answered everyone's questions about it.
Did she let you hold it?
Well, it was on Zoom, because online.
But still, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Parth, do you think you'll ever win an Oscar?
Definitely, yeah.
Wow, confidence. You
No,
responded-
yeah,
you
easily.
responded so
It's not that
quickly.
weird. It's not that hard.
Okay, cool. On to the next section of the show. This is our first coin flip ever. Yes? Not throughout our whole lives, but I mean with the stakes like this.
With these stakes, we flipped a coin during the Best Director matchup.
Oh, for what? Who could draft first?
No, it was between David Fincher and Christopher Nolan at the end, and spoilers, David Fincher won.
I think back on that, and that I died on the David Fincher hill, and as much as I like him, I think I wasn't being objective in saying that Christopher Nolan wasn't more prolific than him.
Interesting. So Parth is right again. Interesting. On to the coin flip.
I'm older now, I have perspective. Okay, so just for reference, the tail side is for the state of North Carolina, and it was issued in 2015. Here we go. So I'm going to do a flip, and then a catch, and then a flip over onto the back of my opposite hand.
Okay.
Sort of the
And
standard.
heads is?
Matrix. Tails is Mollye Asher, who was the producer of Nomadland. But we also did a Nomadland episode already, so this wouldn't lead to us doing a Nomadland episode.
No.
It would kind of just be a one-off, and then the following week would be the Matrix interview. So if you're hankering for that Matrix interview, it's coming
Don't worry,
soon.
it's coming out.
Yep. Okay, here you go. You ready?
I'm waiting. Should I put a
sound effect?
A sound effect, yeah.
Okay. Make it sound cool.
Okay, wait. How about you flip the coin? Like you flip the coin, put it on your the top of your hand, and then I'll do like a little drum sound effect, and then you'll reveal.
Okay. All right, I'm ready. Okay. Here it is. The final result about to be uncovered. 3, 2, 1. You want to guess, Parth?
Is it heads?
It's tails.
So that's Mollye Asher?
It is. We must honor the coin. The coin gods have spoken.
Wow. That was pretty intense, Trent.
I know. There was, before, I did like a practice one, and I would have played it, but it landed on my belly, and then I thought to pick it up off that would be cheating. And so now I can only think what that flip would have been.
Nothing good, you know?
It was we had a 50-50 shot. The state of North Carolina reigned supreme. But yeah, I guess here's our Mollye Asher interview.
Yeah, she was super nice to us, which is pretty cool considering her status in the industry, you know?
As an Oscar winner.
But enjoy this interview. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our interview with Mollye Asher. She's an independent film producer behind such films as Songs My Brother Taught Me, The Rider, and Swallow. She's won the Academy Award for Best Picture with the film Nomadland, and more importantly, she was my professor when she won it. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
So just to start off, what would you say your relationship with films were when you were at a young age?
I wasn't very much of a moviegoer. I was more in the performing arts. So I don't know if I didn't start to have a relationship with movies until I got older.
And I think you went to undergrad for musical theater, but then
I did.
And you wanted to be an actress, and then that didn't
Yeah.
pan out. It's like, what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I was a singer and a dancer growing up and always imagined that I wanted to be on Broadway. And so I went to school for that and then realized that I didn't actually like it, but I liked straight acting. And so I pursued that, but was mainly a waitress for a long time and feeling very like I had no real control over my life, going to auditions and everything's in somebody else's hands. So I made a short film with some friends and then discovered that I liked putting it all together and then went to film school.
So did you went to NYU for graduate school, and was it for film?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, what was that experience like?
It was wonderful. It was truly life-changing. I went because I wanted to not only learn filmmaking, but I wanted to find my people, basically, like the people that I would then work with. It was a really wonderful experience where I got a chance to learn every aspect of filmmaking and really felt free to make mistakes and discover. Yeah, it was truly a special time.
So obviously you ended up moving into producing, and sort of what was it about it that attracted you to that kind of a role in filmmaking?
I think a couple of things. I'm when I really believe in someone, I amplify their voices, their stories. And there's also a part of me that when somebody thinks they can't do something, or if I'm told no, that I love to prove people wrong. So which I guess is probably why I ended up in indie filmmaking.
With that being said, can you explain the basic duties and exactly what a producer does?
Yeah. Well, my course at Rutgers is 14 classes in order to answer that question.
If you go to Rutgers, you should take that class.
So I kind of look at a producer as being the force behind a film or, TV series or whatever, kind of the person who understands what the vision is for the director and is doing everything possible to lay a groundwork, find the right people, keep that vision true from beginning to end. So I come onto projects early in script stage, sometimes even earlier when it's just an idea, and work with the writer. I often work with writer directors, and then I'm in it every phase. So from the working with the writer on the script to getting the talent together, the financing, finding the best department heads, and then overseeing the production, and then its strategy for how to get it out into the world.
So I feel like part of the producerial role is kind of like you're saying, like jump-starting these projects, and part of that is probably attracting investors. Like, is that a skill that you feel like you kind of always had, of being able to like pitch projects and things, or is that something you've had to sort of acquire over time?
I definitely think it's something that takes some learning and some practice. I didn't, but I think at the same time there is some kind of innate ability to get people excited about a project, and you do the same thing when you're trying to find the right crew members, the right DP or whatever, knowing how to talk about the project and what's going to get that person excited. But yeah, it's over time, trying to understand what it is that an investor might be looking for, and how best to angle your pitch to their needs.
So when looking for a project, is there any specific like qualities in the director that you are looking for, like when you're considering getting involved with them?
One of the important things I think is identifying if they're collaborative, like if I'm giving thoughts on the script that I've read, like how do they take those notes? Does it feel like they're listening and engaged with it, or shut off from it? I also really love filmmakers who are really driven, like the kind of thing of like, whether you work on this or not, I'm making this movie happen. I find that incredibly important. Another thing I look for is someone who has a strong vision and who can articulate it.
Is script edits a big part of the job, like in an early stage?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
You've worked a bunch with Chloe Zhao, who I believe you met at NYU. What's that process between the two of you like? I mean, as I understand it, she has a very specific process that's not necessarily like how normal movies normally get, or movies normally get made. So from a producer standpoint, what's that relationship with her like for you?
Yeah, it is different. It came out of necessity, but her writing comes a lot from places that she goes and people that she meets. So and so in a lot of ways, like the writing process is in some ways also like the prep of a movie. And so I might either am going out with her scouting as she's putting together the story, or finding people to connect her to. So it's a very it's like an active sort of like a physically active kind of development, whereas working with a filmmaker that is in a more traditional sense, it's sitting down with the script.
So you worked on, I believe, 3 films with Chloe Zhao. Songs My Brother Taught Me, The Rider, and Nomadland, which won the Oscar. And you went to the Academy Awards. Is that so? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was quite something. God, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it was obviously a different version than ever before because of COVID, but gosh, I don't know where to begin. Did
you see any famous people?
I did, and Trent Reznor was there, and I am a huge fan of him, and I was as a child. And there's still a picture of him hanging up in my bedroom at home. And so I was like, I have to go and say.
For Nine Inch Nails reasons, or for his more, like his recent scoring? Like, that's why I'm in love with Trent Reznor.
Yeah, I love his scoring, of course, but yes, it was Nine Inch Nails. Nice. So I went up to him and was like, I was so nervous too. And I realized as I was talking to him that I was like instinctually taking off my mask, which, and I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. but I he didn't know who I was or anything. I was like, I produced Nomadland, and like, you know, and I did.
And by the way, I've been in love with you since I was a child.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I saw a picture of you and Frances McDormand and Chloe Zhao on the red carpet, and I was like, that's awesome.
So, like, talking about the Oscars, we were kind of wondering, like, award circuits seem like a weird thing because, like, obviously, like, the movie's done. And so what's that process like where you have a finished film and you want to take it to, you know, an awards type thing? What's that process like for you? How involved do you have to be on that?
Well, this was a different experience because we were working, because the studio was, you know, angling it for the Oscars,
Right.
and like, you know, versus, you know, with other films, like we go to award ceremonies, like Spirit Awards or Gotham's, but there hasn't been as much of it. There wasn't campaigns, you know.
Right.
So we were, as producers, pretty involved, and the studio would kind of choose each one of us for different kind of specialties, you know. So like, for example, I did an interview with Backstage, because I was a part of a lot of the casting. So yeah, it's a lot of also repeating the same answers because the same questions are asked over and over. And I kept kidding with my husband that like he could just sit in for me and answer all the questions because he's been hearing me on Zoom.
So I believe Songs My Brother Taught Me went to Sundance, and when you bring a movie, like a smaller indie movie, to Sundance, are you like shopping it around and trying to get it bought?
Yeah, the intention is to get it bought. So you bring on a publicist and you bring on a sales agent, and they kind of work in accordance with one another. And so, like, you know, the hope is always that your movie premieres and, you know, there's a bidding war and you stay up all night. And then, but that didn't happen with Songs.
But like, as the producer, like, is your work done, or are you like, are you like a representative, like, out there with the clipboard, like, trying to get people to buy your movie?
No, the sales agent is doing that. But then you're involved in the negotiation of the price of the sale. But I mean, some producers, especially nowadays, will take on sales agent duties, but really it's a specialty, you know. So the people who are selling the film have relationships with the distributors.
You've also produced a bunch of shorts, and we were wondering how different the job is producing a feature film versus a short film, and kind of what the differing objectives with the two are.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing my first film feature, I was thinking like, okay, well, this is just going to be like I'm producing 4 shorts in a row. And so much of it really is very much the same, like the process of getting it off the ground and making it and finishing it. But I think something that was a big difference was raising the financing, because, you know, when we were in school, our classmates were working on the projects for free, you know, like, so we had equipment from school. So that was the biggest hurdle, I think, going from shorts to features. And then also, I guess, you know, the aim of of wanting to sell the film. Of course, there are people who, you know, sell their shorts, but when I was in school, it wasn't as common. So really, it was a matter of just like helping to get the film at a festival that then, you know, to be able to launch the filmmaker's career.
Obviously, you're still working like within an independent sphere, so it's not like you're working necessarily with like Marvel level budgets, but like you've definitely, the budgets have increased a bit.
Mm-hmm.
How much does that change it on your end, or is it kind of just like it's just you have to figure it out no matter what?
Well, it makes it a lot easier because you don't have to do every single job. The bigger budget you have, the more you can really sort of, you can put a lot more into being able to be standing by the monitor, you know, and like really being there for the filmmaker. So that's the biggest difference, is that you just have a larger team that you can rely on. So
obviously you were the producer on Nomadland, and just in general, and on this project in particular, like, were you driving across the country during the filming, like with the whole gang?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah.
We talked to Mary Kerrigan a little bit during our Nomadland episode, but yeah, she described that it was a real cohort environment and that you were like you were on the road making a movie for serious.
Yeah, it was fun. And like every movie, I feel like, you become a family. But I think especially if you're out of town on jobs, because everybody that you're with on the shoot is like who you're living with too, So I think, and we were really conscious of providing that kind of atmosphere on Nomadland because it was a longer shoot. And so our production office that we would set up at each hotel or motel was also a place where people could gather and play games and, have a beer after work.
Obviously, Nomadland is probably, at least recently, the most widely known or acclaimed thing that you've worked on, but we were wondering if there's another movie that you've worked on that you think maybe not like overlooked is maybe the wrong word, but just like a movie you wish like, oh shit, I did good work on that movie. People should know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish that people like knew more about Songs My Brother Taught Me, but yeah, I'd say probably like She's Lost Control and Fort Tilden. The Fort Tilden was the filmmakers then that went on to make Search Party. And it didn't really have as big as a life as I wished it had. It won Grand Jury Prize at South by and then was picked up by Orion, but it didn't really, it didn't make as much of an impact as I wished that it could have, just, as far as its reach. And same thing with She's Lost Control. It's a really special film that you can really see a very distinctive filmmaker who then went on, like she most recently did the third season, I think it was, of Girlfriend Experience, wrote it and directed
is that the
it.
Steven Soderbergh show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
I watched the trailer for Swallow, which I believe got bought. It was IFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That looked like a success.
Yeah, I was really happy with that how that film did, and actually I think it in some way benefited a little bit from the pandemic because it came out in theaters on March 9th, 2020. It was March 9th. Mm-hmm. And then in New York and LA, and then the next week it was supposed to open wider, but then that next week was when everyone went into lockdown. But because the way that IFC works, where it's day and date, which means that it's in theaters and available online at the same day. Started the pandemic, people were looking for things to watch, and I think that it definitely overperformed what was estimated for that.
So, like, over the course of your career, what would you say that the thing is that you've gotten you've gotten much better at that particular thing? Like, what would you say is the skill that you've been able to cultivate?
They've honed the most.
Yeah.
Parth, that was a good question.
I know. Off the top of the head.
It is
That's how
a
it
great
works.
question. I think giving notes, because it's something that is, well, first of all, like I think at first, like there was gaining confidence that it was that I could give notes, on the script and the edit, but also finding the way to do it. And every filmmaker is different, and how they hear notes is different. And so being able to adjust how I'm speaking about a project, but also even just like being able to read a script and have an idea of what's working or not working, and how to help steer the writer in a direction to improve.
I've always wondered about notes because I feel like you always hear about either studio notes or like investor notes or whatever. And I'm like, is there like a formal process for those? Or is it just like you send like a Google Doc with a bunch of bullet points on it?
Or is it just written script notes?
For the way that I do it, there's not like really a specific way that, at least maybe there is in like TV world or something, I don't know, but what I do is I write very detailed notes. It's when I start out though, it's a larger kind of way of looking at and I guess what I should say is I write the notes in an email first and then send it to the writers so they can like process it, think about it, and then we set up a time to go over the notes over the phone or in person or whatever. And I guess I do bullet points. I do bullet points when I'm making the notes.
Have you ever had to, without naming any names, obviously, but like, have you ever had to act as like a intermediary between like say someone's putting up money and they have a
yeah.
note and you're like, that's a dumb note. I don't like that.
Yes.
And like, how do you handle that kind of a situation? Because obviously there's
You
like a
need their
power
money.
happening
You need
there.
their money, but they have bad ideas.
Yeah. I've definitely been in a situation like that. Well, it was understood though that we were that their notes weren't contingent on them. Like they had already decided they were going to work on the project.
They can't pull funding.
Yeah. And so, well, like I will take the notes from the investor, not have the investor give them to the filmmaker so that I can
Sort of
filter. Yes. And maybe sometimes reword it possibly in a way that might be more like easier to grasp
productive,
or productive.
So we'll ask you what you're working on now, but is there any sort of potential future projects or at least type or genre of movie that you haven't had the chance to produce that you're hoping comes across your path?
Or there's like a dream type where it's like, oh, I'd love to do a thing like that
Mm-hmm.
without spoiling anything that might be in the works.
Like I would have loved to have produced Black Swan. I love that movie. I really I like thrillers, and I like things that are a little bit sometimes outside of reality. You know, I like when that merges.
I just watched Black Swan last month. Really good movie.
I just watched it again recently too. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone is just watching movies they like, and they're like, I want to make this. I want to make my own version of this, but that's a different enough to not get copyright infringement. You know, Black Swan 2.0.
Yeah, Trent said this, but what are you working on now or releasing now that you can talk about?
Well, I have a film coming out in February called Catch the Fair One. It's also with IFC. A trailer recently came out for that, and so excited to see how audiences will react to that one. The actress in it got nominated for a Spirit Award for Best Female Lead, which was incredible. It's her first acting job ever. She wasn't an actor. She's a boxer, and so I'm so excited to not only see how audiences are going to react to this film, but also see what it might do for her career. So that's coming up, and then I have some projects that I'm packaging. They're a bit higher in budget, so they're very cast dependent. So sort of it's a frustrating kind of like waiting game basically, because you're trying to get through the gatekeepers, the agents, to read the project and then say whether they feel like their client is right for it or not, and then there's the whole waiting process for the actor to read it. It's and then you're also playing that dance of like the chicken or the egg of casting and financing it at the same time, or which one do you do first, or do you try and do them at the same time?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, is there like an order that's ever like that you found is easier, or is it just literally just project by project it's different? Of like, is it easier to get cast members first or people to fund it first or whatever?
Because it is the catch-22 that you can't get a cast without funding,
Right.
and you can't get funding without a cast.
Yes, but the traditional way of doing it is you put your cast together and then you go out and finance it. But I have found that I've done it at the same time.
Parth, do you think it's time for the Big Kahuna final question?
Yeah, sure. I think we can do that.
Well, the Big Kahuna final question is, what is the last great film you watched? And by great, we mean not good. Great.
I know maybe maybe it's uncool of me, but I loved the West Side Story remake. I went into it being
Trent
like,
loved it too.
I went into it being like, should not be allowed. They should not be making this. I don't understand why.
It was
and
an unenviable task.
It was just expertly done in every single way. I cried multiple times. Performances, where he put the camera, that was something like all throughout. I was just like, I loved it.
I heard West Side Story remake was coming out, and I was like, this is stupid, but it's Uncle Steve, so I'll give it a shot. I haven't seen it yet, but him and Giannis Kaminski, they seem to know what they're doing.
And also, like, the same songs, but new dancing. What's not to like?
Well, I think that there was a lot. There was some of the original Jerome Robbins choreography.
There's some, but like the whole sales pitch was like, we can't do the same movie with the same choreography, because then you're literally just watching a shot-for-shot remake, or essentially. But they changed the dancing a lot. But the songs were like note for note, pretty much the same.
Mhm.
But yeah, like
Is there like a hot take you have about like which one you prefer, or?
Oh, I prefer the Steven Spielberg one. Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of walked out thinking the same thing. I was like, this is an easier watch than the original, and it's like all the same songs I love, and it's the modern version that's like more watchable.
Yeah, you're so engaged in them, in the characters, and even though you know what's going to happen at the end, it still was just tragic, heartbreaking, and just in the best way.
It is unforgivable to speak on record, though, putting down the original West Side Story, because like one of the greatest movies ever made.
Right, right.
But if we're gonna, it's Uncle Steve, so anything's possible. Well, Parth, you want to bring us out?
Yeah. Thanks so much to Mollye Asher, a former professor of mine. She's worked on a bunch of really cool movies: The Rider, Nomadland, Songs My Brother Taught Me, Swallow. All cool movies that you should rent or buy on iTunes. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on and talking with us.
Sure. It was fun. Thanks.
Great.
Wow. That was an interview.
It sure was.
Thank you to Mollye Asher for her time. It was very nice of her to come on the show, give her worldly wisdom to us, So I guess next week...
Yeah, now we know it. Now you know what's coming.
Now you know that next week is Matrix editor Joseph Jet Sally. And that's a pretty awesome interview, too.
Yeah, that was a pretty good interview. And after that, we'll be discussing the film. Do you think we'll have a guest?
I kind of think this should be a Trent versus Parth show. I think we have enough to say,
Will that episode require me to rewatch all 4 Matrix films? Like, if I'm fully
you don't
to participate?
need to.
I've never seen Matrix 2 or 3, so I'm pretty uneducated.
Having seen the entirety of Matrix 4 and like some people, it gives greater context to have seen 2 and 3, but 4 is very much so more related to the first Matrix than the other 2.
But Parth, the thing you're missing is after staying through the entirety of the Licorice Pizza credits, because that brought me more joy than the third act of Matrix Resolutions.
No, Trent loves pedophilic relationships. That's fine. That's cool.
I returned to the Matrix for the final 10 minutes, and it was absolutely baffling and stupid, and they flew around.
It's almost like you hadn't seen the movie. Join us next week for our interview with Joseph Jet Sally. Follow us on our social media, Twitter, Instagram. Give us a good review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Is that it? Am I missing anything?
No, Parth, you said it all. I'm ready to talk about the Matrix. What can I say?
Well, you'll just have to join us next week.
Matrix numero uno. I'm excited to watch Matrix 2. Okay.
Yeah, well, I feel like you might not like it. We can watch it together.
Is that so? Well, we're allowed to not like the movies that we watch, even though...
We're allowed to, but when your opinion doesn't align with mine, it kind of upsets me, because I'm just, smarter.
Yeah, Jackson, friend of the show, aligned you to a fascist in saying how you treat people who disagree with your opinions.
He said that about me?
Yeah, he equated you to Benito Mussolini, famous dictator of Italy during World War II.
I'm comfortable with that.
In the way that you would, decapitate or, subject people to execution at whim if you had the resources.
The thing is, I think most people don't have as good of a reason behind their opinions as I do. And as soon as they do, I'll happily relinquish.
But you've thought everything through.
I never don't.
And you're ready to go to the grave for it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, with that being said,
this episode's
goodbye.
done. Bye, guys.